Well, welcome to the Future Dragons YouTube channel again. I'm George and I'm in Wellington for the New Zealand Chinese Association Conference, the conference for the world famous in New Zealand world. New Zealand's largest Chinese association. And I'm here today with Merv, who is the Chief Executive of the Ministry for Ethnic Communities.
That's right.
I had that corrected for me today.
That's correct.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Not a problem.
So why don't you just quickly describe what the Ministry of Ethnic Communities do?
So the Ministry for Ethnic Communities is the chief advisor to the government on the inclusion of ethnic communities in New Zealand and on ethnic diversity generally. So that's our job. We have a policy function that gives government policy advice on any issue that affects ethnic communities. And we also have a team that works in partnership with communities, supporting them with the community development, which issues that they may have, supporting them to access funding for their activities on the ground, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. I've just noticed that you guys have gotten very visible in like social media and stuff. Because let's be honest, most government organisations are very boring. But it seems like you guys have been doing a lot to sort of make it more modern. Like, tell me the strategy, guys, for really pushing your message.
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward. Our ethnic community is about 20% of the population. A lot of them are very young as well. It's a younger population than the mainstream population. So we've got to make sure that our messages are getting out to communities, and social media is one channel that we actively use to make sure people are aware of what we're doing so they can participate.
Okay, so what ethnic background are you?
I'm from Malaysia. So I'm very lucky. My father's from Sri Lanka. My mother is a part Portuguese, Indian, English. And I grew up in a home where we had three faiths: Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam, all under the same roof, you know. So it was a pretty vibrant, multicultural sort of background.
Okay. How did you balance all three faiths? Did they ever sort of coincide, or?
Well, sometimes they don't actually, because they are very different belief systems from these different faiths. But that's the amazing thing. You can actually have these different faiths, even with ideas and perspectives that are very different, and still respect each one equally.
Okay. And it's like, is there a particular ethnic communities that you help more of than others?
No. As a public service agency, we work with everybody equally. And we're particularly careful to make sure that communities that have got that are lesser in terms of number, or they're not as well connected to everybody else, or harder to reach, that we engage with them, that they are not left behind. So we try to reach everybody to make sure their needs are met.
So how much work do you do with the Maori and Pacifica communities? Because they already have a huge government backing for them already. So do you guys overlap with any of the work they do?
They have specific focus on issues to do with their communities. So the Ministry for Pacific Peoples, and then Te Puni Kokiri, which is the Ministry for Maori Development. They have got specific focus for their people. But an important thing for New Zealand's cohesion is that we build connection across all these communities. So we're working with them as well to see, are there business opportunities, for example, that we can all leverage from each other to grow opportunities for New Zealand. And there are other areas like this where we try to find opportunities for collaboration.
Okay. Okay. So, what was I about to ask? I was like, so when the Ministry of Ethnic for Ethnic Communities was founded, were you guys following some sort of model that was successful in a different country that has a huge multiculturalism?
No, because I think New Zealand's one of the few countries in the world that actually has a ministry uniquely dedicated to ethnic communities. Other countries have got ministries or departments that work on culture and heritage and identity, or multiculturalism, that sort of thing, but not specifically for ethnic communities.
Do you think that cohesion is brought together by basically letting all the races sort of mix together in the same sort of community, like a workplace, encouraging workplace diversity? Or do you think it's okay to have certain sectors of the industry that are more favourable to certain communities over others and sort of keep them separate? But I feel like that doesn't necessarily prevent cohesion. What do you think is the best model that we approach?
Well, I think we have human rights laws in New Zealand, and they're international human rights laws that say it is unlawful to discriminate against people based on their ethnicity, gender, race, whatever. So it would actually be unlawful to say we're going to keep these areas separate from so it would be wrong. So my thinking is it's really important that people come together to collaborate, to solve problems together, to find opportunities to make the community that they're in better than it was before across all these different cultural groups. In fact, all the research tells us that's when you get the best outcomes. You know, if you did something across Chinese, Indian, Somali, Maori, Pacific, you probably get better ideas on how to solve community problems. You probably get connections across these communities that might lead to better employment opportunities. You might get innovation because they bring all different cultural perspectives to the table. So it's really important for people to actually do this. You know what I just said.
Have you found that certain communities just can't get along, no matter how hard you try? Like, it's just a really chance to get them to even talk the same language.
Well, you know, different communities have come from different backgrounds, different histories. Some may have had conflicts with another community in their country of origin. So that can be challenging. But, you know, therein lies the beauty of being in New Zealand. You can leave those things behind you and start afresh. So, yeah, there are some communities that would be a little, we're not sure whether we're going to work with those other people. But that's where the ministry reaches out to those communities to try and bring them into the fold. It's really important for our country.
And pertaining to the Chinese communities, as you might know, the Chinese communities in New Zealand are quite, there's lots of different little Chinese sub-communities. Like, how do you work around that? Do you treat them all as the Chinese community, or do you treat them as whatever they identify themselves as? Like, I am Malaysian Chinese, I am Taiwanese, I am whatever, you know, mainland. They all have a different identity. Like, how do you sort of navigate around that?
Well, it's really important that those different Chinese communities within the broader Chinese community, if you like, you know, they might be ethnically Chinese, but they have got subgroupings, as you say, you know, the ones you described. Really important for them to feel a sense of pride in their own identity, whatever it is, but in a way that doesn't exclude other people. You know, that somebody might be a Malaysian Indian or Malaysian Chinese, shouldn't preclude them from having a connection from somebody who's from China, you know, who's Chinese. So,
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to come onto the show.
You're very welcome, George. Thank you for having me.
I encourage you to watch the YouTube channel, which I am promoting.
I certainly will.
And then you can see how good you look on camera. Here's the card with all the QR codes in it.
Thank you very much.
So make sure to like and subscribe and click on our social media links. It should be in the description below. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good on you, George.